Thank you so much for taking the time to join us and to talk about your new book, Analog Church: Why We Need People, Places, and Things in the Digital Age. Um, I think your book's really relevant for our culture in general as we've become less smart with smartphones and all the things that we do. But and I'm the worst offender, so I can say that. But I think it's even more urgent today now that we're in this land of COVID and people have spent so much time not being relational. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the book to start off with, and maybe a little inform us a little bit about the transcendence we're missing out on by being all digital and virtual.
Yeah. Well, yeah. First of all, thanks for having me on, Michael. Yeah, I'm really excited to be chatting with you and folks who are listening. Yeah, the book. So the book came about really over the course of several years. I'd been thinking about the intersection between the digital age and online technologies and the church, and our ecclesiology and what it means to be the church in the internet age, really, and all of the ways in which the digital age seems to be impacting and influencing not only how we understand but how we experience being the church. And so I've been thinking about that for several years and wrestling with it in various ways. And next thing you know, there's a book. But yeah, you asked the question about transcendence. It's one of the key suggestions I make in the book that I think in the digital age in particular, we have um, focused so much of our energy on relevance. The idea that in our churches, we have to sort of look, sound, and feel like everything else that digital culture seems to be offering. I wrote the book before COVID, but COVID has certainly accelerated some of that pressure to keep up with the digital Joneses, if you will. And one of the suggestions I make in the book is that actually, I think one of the things that the church has always had to offer the world and needs to continue offering the world is transcendence. This opportunity to experience a reality that seems unlike anything else you can get in, culture, rather than competing with culture to offer a sort of countercultural way to be. And I think the church has always been most effective throughout her history in those moments when she, sort of zigs as the world zags. And so there's a lot to say there, but that's essentially kind of the heartbeat behind the book.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a wonderful book. These kind of conversations always make me feel, I don't know, blessed but uncomfortable at the same time as I'm discussing about the, I don't know, I wouldn't say the evils of the digital world, but maybe
No,
just
not at
some
all.
of the things you need to be aware of. And yet I'm you know on a digital platform, so there we go. Um, but that being said, what the segue here is, people. I think most people are they understand they're relational because obviously God created us to be relational, and I think they're ready to be back with other people. But with all the weirdness the past year, a little over a year, not having to get dressed, not going to work, working from home, having coffee with people virtually, it's going to be a little bit hard to re-engage in just the normalcy of being around other people and being blessed by their thoughts and their emotions, and being able to see them maybe without a mask even. um, do you have any advice on next steps for people to move back into the analog?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you said it early on. I don't think digital technologies are evil. I don't think any technology is evil. I think technologies are all moral. I don't think they have an inherent morality per se. I think that, a hammer in the hands of a skilled carpenter can be used to do incredible good and to build, but a hammer in the hands of someone with ill intentions or an untrained person can do incredible damage, and so it is with digital technologies. So I'm glad you made that point. It's not that digital technologies are evil, it's just that sometimes our misuse of them, as with all technologies, can cause more harm than good. But yeah, you're right. As we sort of begin to find our way out of the COVID fog, if you will, and as churches are beginning to gather in person a little bit more, at least, uh, you know, there are going to be tremendous challenges. I mean, an entire year for most of us, an entire year of pandemic shutdown has reformed us and reshaped us and rehabituated us, meaning our habits have changed. And I think that there is going to be a season, and potentially a long season, um, of unlearning and relearning. And that's okay. I think that for church leaders and for pastors especially, it's probably quite important right now to, as much as possible, to lean into patience, slow and steady at this point, in terms of having people sort of come back and gather in person again. Because again, people have to get rehabituated and relearn and be reformed into sort of what it means to be a part of the body of Christ. So, but at the same time, that doesn't mean we rest on our laurels. I think it's important that we teach our way and inspire our way to the future. And I do believe that the future is analog. It certainly is digital too. I think there's no denying that digital is here to stay. I think that if you want to say it this way, hybridity is our future. There's going to be digital alongside analog, but all of the stuff during COVID about, analog is antiquated and it's over. And, if you don't go fully digital, then you're done. I think that was overblown. I think if COVID has shown us anything, people are really hungry for in-person embodied presence, even if they don't come back to it right away. So in terms of advice, I would just say take small steps back, whatever that next small step is, and maybe for you, it might be going to your church gathering and sitting outside, if you're not ready to go inside yet. Maybe it's like not going back yet at all. Maybe you have underlying health reasons or other concerns, and you don't want to be back in person at all. But I think if anything, what I would say is, like, never forget that the most central way to be community is to be so in incarnational embodied ways. So however long it takes you to get back to that point, just don't forget that that is the point that you are looking to return to. And the journey there can be slow, and that's okay. But I just, my concern would be if people are sort of satisfied um, with digital only. I think we lose a lot, in not gathering in embodied ways.
Absolutely. Well, maybe now we could just take a step away from the book for a minute and you could tell us a little bit about the Regeneration Project.
Oh yeah, sure. Thanks for asking. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Regeneration Project is it's a ministry that I'm a part of with a dear friend of mine, Dan Kimball, and another really good friend, Isaac Serrano, and some others. And yeah, it's a ministry that's connected to Western Seminary up in Portland, Oregon. And really what we're trying to do is just uh, tell the story of the Bible in compelling ways, particularly for younger generations. And so we have a podcast and we put on events and conferences, and well, that was before COVID. We'll see what it's like after COVID. But and some written content on our website, and it's been a lot of fun. But it's really driven by a passion to see uh, everyone, but emerging generations in particular, um, engage the story of God in fresh new ways and sort of deconstruct some of the caricatures that exist out there about the Bible and about Christian faith and about Christians. So um, there you go. Yeah, we you can just go to regenerationproject.org, and there's a bunch of info and a bunch of resources there as well if for anybody who's interested.
Absolutely. And that's one of those places where you have skilled carpenters, i.e., using digital for good.
Yeah, there
So,
you go. Trying at least.
yeah,
Trying, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, um, we're probably coming close to the end. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with the audience about Analog Church?
Yeah, I mean, if you're curious about kind of that intersection of the digital age and our ecclesiology, how we understand and experience what it means to be the church, then I do hope and pray that the book is helpful for you. Agree or disagree. I'm sure there are points where you may agree adamantly and disagree adamantly, and agreement is not necessarily the goal. I think, if anything, my hope is to just provoke your thinking and help push things forward. So yeah, my hope and prayer is that you find it helpful.
I'm with you there, sir. Agreeing's not all that it would be cut out to be. It's much better to push your thoughts. People need to have their thoughts pushed.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Once again, we'll show the book, Analog Church, IVP Press. Pick up a copy and give it a look. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to be with us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure.